I love that. I think that's a wonderful poem.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Very observant. Some poetry seems... Oh, I should mention, this is from Home During a Dry Spell. It's published by Ridgeway Press down in Roseville, Michigan. And it's by Jan Worth, who is our guest tonight. This book has very domestic feel, you know, sort of dealing with home. Some of the other poems you sent are less so, you know, less in. But there is a sense to a lot of your work of space, you know, of living space, you know, a sense of where you are or where you were, much less the fantasy, the projection of other places and other times. Do you tend to draw from the world before you?
Place is very important to me because, as you know, I think from seeing the book, my dad was a preacher, and we got moved very often, as the Methodists were wont to do in my era. So when we had a home, we clung to it, and I think that I continue to carry some of that with me. I got to know the insides of a lot of houses because we moved from one parsonage to another. And some of those houses, you know, I dream about still. I mean, there were, I got to appreciate the importance of the space you're in, and also to know what it feels like to lose it. So I'm sure that has something to do with my value of place.
Do you think that heightened your sensitivity? The fact that you were having to deal with different places on an intimate basis? Yeah,
and as the minister's kid, you know, you had to interact with all those adults. And be nice about it and be clever about it, you know, and to be able to make conversation. And what would end up happening is you'd hear all about everybody's lives, as the minister's family would. And I'm sure that planted a lot of important seeds for me. I'm very grateful for that childhood. I think it was a good one. Difficult, but good.
All of us go through a rebellious period. It's a natural part of the human process. One would think that being the minister's child, that would be extra hard, that you would be, it isn't just that your parents aren't watching, there's 200 or 300 other people who are watching you too. Was your rebellion more difficult, do you think, because of that?
I imagine it was more flamboyant. Well, as I started out by saying, I did hitchhike during a good portion of my youth, so I liked getting away from all the restrictions. Oh yeah, I had quite a flamboyant rebellion. Most writers say that they felt isolated in their childhood in some way, and I think that's certainly true for me, that as a preacher's kid, you know, there were ways in which I didn't share a lot of things that other people my age were doing. And so the isolation was something that I rebelled against later too. I got as far away from the Midwest as I could without, you know, leaving the continental U.S. I went straight to California, right on the edge of the water, and stayed there for 5 years till I kind of got a few things out of my system. But yeah, I had quite a flamboyant time in my early 20s. And of course that was the 60s too, so society sort of supported me in that.
Yeah, it was a fun time to be young.
Yeah.
I'm sad, I think, sometimes for the kids today that they have such a difficult environment to rebel in, and it's not an easy time, I think, to be young. Anyway, we're talking with Jan Worth. My name is Michael Kelly, and you have stumbled upon Hometown Movies, unless you're actually tuned in to find us. We're going to take one more minute to bring you a message which I hope you find interesting. We'll be right back.